Hi, my name is Bob. I'm here to talk to you about DDos and APTs. DDoS stands for Distributed Denial of Service. Distributed meaning comes from all sorts of different locations simultaneously. Originally, DOS, denial of service, was a very simple thing to do. Simply download a program, something like LOIC or HOIC. I'm a chargin' my lasers. And that's what LOIC starts with. As you can see, it's a simple program. You hit the start button, it starts flooding traffic to whichever source you want it to, thus, in theory, slowing it down. Now, the internet obviously has become such a massive pipe that it's almost impossible to bring down a website or some other source with one program from their home IP address. So, groups of people got together and banded together and said, okay, at 3 o'clock, we're going to flood this particular IP using LOIC. That was our first distributed denial of service attack. Why would they do this? Multiple reasons. A lot of hacktivists, protesters. Those were the earliest ones. As we've moved forward, it's actually become money that people are interested in. There's actually places like stressors and booters that claim that they're a legitimate business, and they utilize zombies being computers that are infected throughout the entire world that they have control of through command and control channels. So if they get irritated, they simply tell these zombies to attack a particular website and go for and bring it down to its knees. Interestingly enough, you can actually see a lot of these attacks on the real world by simply doing a search on the internet for DDoS maps. Here's an example of a DDoS map. As you can see, the graphics make it pretty simple, and if you look at the text near the bottom, you'll actually see what kind of packets are hitting these different sites, where they're originating, and what all exactly is going on. If you're lucky enough, you'll be watching this site when something big happens, and it's really quite interesting to keep your eye on. I do have to mention, however, that doing such things, bringing down sites, is illegal, and you can be charged or fined a lot, and possibly even go to jail, as you'll see if you watch the movie We Are Legion. They discuss that in quite some depth. Recently, we've got some examples of some really big DDoS attacks. There's a thing called Mirai that came out recently. It's a script, a program that utilizes IoTs. IoTs being Internet of Things. It's the new buzzword, as you know. These IoTs, they had default passwords and default names, simply logged in automatically. Mirai scripted this process, and Krebs on security, a well-known security writer, his website was brought down even though he's fully protected from these DDoS attacks. The amount of flooding actually it stopped his site completely. An even more interesting attack recently happened when somebody attacked Dying DNS in October of 2016. So why would they attack Dying DNS? Dynamic DNS, Dying DNS, is a way that people look up websites. So if you type in a website name, it resolves to an IP address. A lot of companies use Dying DNS as that resolution piece, and by flooding it with tons and tons of traffic, it brought down Dying DNS. And if you were on the internet that day, you would know it, because all the big sites were going down, not because they were brought down, but because Dying DNS was brought down. By bringing down Dying DNS, it made it impossible for that resolution to occur, and nobody could get to any sites. It was big news. It made the news quite a bit that day. I do have a heat map from that. As you can see, it hit the East Coast, West Coast, and really made things difficult for that day for a lot of people. That's a short description of distributed DOS, and I hope that you find that somewhat interesting. It's easy to find lots of information on it. Remember, if you're going to download LOIC and HOIC, play safe, because you can get in trouble. Now let's talk about APTs. A for advanced, P for persistent, and T for threat. What makes this different than a regular old threat? Well, if you think about it, a lot of threats and malware simply are sent out by random emails, hoping to get people to click on things. Of course, the last couple of years, everybody's heard of ransomware. And that's just a hit and miss, good luck, hopefully I'll make some money kind of deal. Whereas an advanced persistent threat goes after a particular target. There's numerous ways they can do that. A lot of ways they just dox or look up as much possible information as they can on the company. They also look at the CEO of the company, find the names of family members, phone numbers, whatever, and use social engineering to actually find ways to get that person to disclose information about their network. They also target third parties that come in with computers that are well-known AVAC vendors, just like Target had. And when they find that it's special information for this particular target, they're actually looking for a particular target, not just randomly choosing one. Then once they get inside that network, they're looking for persistence. Now they want to make money, but they don't, unlike ransomware where it's a one-time shot and then it's over, they want to get inside that network. They're interested in intellectual property, governmental information, and who knows what else. A lot of these have cost companies a lot of money and even caused some to potentially even close. A lot of smaller businesses. A lot of larger businesses are having struggles with even staying in control. Sony, for example, lost so much data that it caused mass havoc, including their emails. So the persistence piece comes in because once they do get in there, they want to have control. They want to slowly milk what they can out of this intellectual property, out of this company, whether it be money or movies or simply emails, anything they can. A great example is the Carbonac. It started out in the Ukraine. They got this malware in by sending a simple CPL file. It's a control panel file. It's a semi-executable. It's considered to be a portable executable to a banking person in the Ukraine that infected their computer, reached out, downloaded the necessary executables, and called home. Once these criminals had this software inside their system, they were able to pivot. That is, go from computer to computer internally, quietly, because they're interested in persistence. They're not interested in the fast, grab it and run. And once they got in there and started pivoting around, they were actually able to control the ATM machines. They would then hire these mules, these people they called mules. These mules would go over to an ATM machine at a particular time of day and just stand there and wait until the persistent attack had control of that ATM and said, hey, spit out $1,000 at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Mule would grab that money, bring it home, they would share it. This went on for years before anybody noticed because they were able to juggle the accounts. The other thing that they ended up doing, and this is really interesting, is they installed a rat on some of these systems inside the banks. The rat allowed them, rat meaning remote access tool, allowed them to actually control their computer, take videos of the use of the accounting software, which the criminals were not familiar with, and by simply watching these videos and key logging, they were actually able to learn the accounting system that was being utilized in that bank. Once they learned how to use that accounting system, they were able to create all kinds of different fake accounts, transfer money, everything else. Persistence, that is the key with APTs. Went that on for a long time, and as a matter of fact, it's still going on to this day. They estimate it's about $1 billion, but nobody really truly knows because it was such an advanced, persistent attack. Carbonac is still in use today. It's still running around the networks of many banks and financial institutions throughout the world. Well, I hope you found these two topics somewhat interesting, DDoS and APTs. There's a lot more out there to learn about, but I find it terribly interesting. If you're bored, check out exploit kits. Until next time, this is Bob, signing off.